To make disciples is different from gathering crowd. Anybody can gather crowd. Davido fills stadiums. Burna Boy, Tiwa Savage, they fill stadiums. Michael Jackson was packing stadiums all over the world. Michael Jackson's appearance made women to collapse and faint. And yet that was not ministry. So it's not about gathering crowd. The mandate is to make disciples. To make disciples is the Greek word martyrtio. Martyrtio means to turn people into students of all that Jesus has taught. I heard somebody says, well, leave people to preach whatever they want to preach. If your own is success, preach success. If your own is prosperity, preach prosperity. If your own is whatever, preach whatever you're called to preach. No, if there's no such open-ended freedom to preach anything you want to preach. The Bible is a singular revelation tied by a singular message of a singular character. John 5:39, Jesus will say, you search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, but they are they which testify of me. The message of the gospel is such that the rich and the poor are in need of it. The sick and the healed are in need of it. Like I've always said, there's nothing like the gospel of prosperity. It's just transaction. It's just businessmen in collars. That's what the Archbishop, if you watch very carefully recently, the video of the late Archbishop Benson Idahosa is in circulation, where he said, if any preacher tells you, give, get, give, receive, give, get, he says he's a businessman. He's a businessman on the pulpit.
Anything you call prosperity, I'm the symbol. I am the evidence that God can bless you. Did you hear me? He says, stay clear from those who have false doctrine. And I started by just quoting me alone. I said, even me. If I'm no more preaching Christ, who died, who rose, who is coming again, and I'm preaching how you can become a lottery staker in the church. If you give me 1,000, you are going to get 1 million. That's not gospel. That's businessmen with clerical collar.
And it says the Bible warns that you should stay away from such people. Any gospel that promises you what Jesus never promised you, bogus promises, that gives you promises that are not from Jesus, run away from such gospel. Don't even stay where such gospel is predicated, because eventually the legacy of ministry is not houses. It's not our church buildings. It is not how many people you gathered. It is not how much money you had. The legacy of ministry is the message you preached. That's why it's a laugh when somebody says, be careful of social media doctrines. You know, when somebody says, if you don't pay tithe, you will not go to heaven. They didn't say beware of social media doctrines, but it was on social media we saw it. When somebody says, if you don't give the 10% of your tithe, if it is less than 10%, angels will move it to offering account.
The tithe of 10 naira is 1 naira. There's no other geography or arithmetic about it. But the tithe of 10,000 is not 1 naira. Stop abusing the covenant. So when you mark your envelope by tithe, the angel will say, stop insulting God. I will take this to Jesus as your offering. So many people think they are tithing. No. If it's less than tithe, it's transferred to offering account. So no window opens, just blessing on what to eat and what to drink. No, heaven is full of order. So when your tithe is less than your tithe, it's transferred to offering account. So they can tell you have not tithe for the past 10 years. The reason is that your tithe has been transferred to offering.
Nobody said anything about it on social media. But when we began to shout very loud the message of his death, burial, resurrection, ascension, and glorification, now they call it social media doctrines. But I'm sure if those people were alive in the days of Brother Paul, they will have called Brother Paul a later writer, because most of Brother Paul's revelations were communicated by writing.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when time you are coming across this video. In this episode, I'll be sharing with you on what Dr. Paul ENENCHE mentioned, that Dr. ABEL DAMINA church is empty because of his message. In this episode, you'll be hearing what Dr. ABEL mentioned on yourself, so that you know go talk, say, let me tell you this, and maybe let's not carry your ear, this, and just listen to it in the man talk.